In this video, we are going to start working with a form for creating and editing movies. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and work on that. Here we are in the Create Movie component, and so I will bring up the console, and here I will say nggc movies/form movie, and I will say skip test equal to true, and I'll press enter. And now I will open the three elements of my component and I'll get to work. First, let me come here and let me say here h2 create movie. Here we are in the create movie component. We are going to say form movie, and now we're going to go to our form movie component to start working. Let's start with the form builder, which we will use to create our form group. I will say form group, and here I will initialize the form group. I will say this form builder group, and we're going to have several fields like title for the title of the movie. I'll say this, and validators equal to an array of validators. I will say that this is required. Let's also have some properties like summary, because I want to have the summary of the movies in theaters if the movie is in theaters. Trailer, I want to have the YouTube trailer release date, which is going to be empty. Poster, because I want to be able to select the poster of the movie. And that's it for now. Now let's go to the template to work on this. I'll say here form, I'll say submit, save changes, and I'll say here form, this should be form group equal to form, and let me copy this, and let's come here and let's say save changes so that this does not complain. Now let's work on the form. Let me say math form field, appearance outline, math label, title, input form control name is going to be title, and math input, and finally we're going to have math error. The title field is required. Now I will say div, I want to have here a math checkbox. I will say in theaters, and here I will say form control name in theaters, and below that we're going to have the trailer of the movie. So I will just copy this and paste it here, and I will delete this, and I will say here trailer and trailer here. This should be uppercase. Now let's create another math form field, but this time for the release date. So I will say math label release date. This should be release. I will say input form control name release date math input, and now let me say math date picker, and I will have the name picker, and here I will put the math date picker toggle math suffix for picker, and here I will say math date picker equal to picker, and we're going to have an h4 here for the poster. Select the poster, and we're going to use our app input image component. We're going to have URL current image here. We're going to say model.poster, and I will say on image selected and on image selected here, and I will say event here. This is done here. Now let me work with the summary of the movie. So I will say h4 summary, and now here I will say app input markdown, and let's come here. Markdown content is going to be model summary. Change markdown is going to be change markdown event, and that's more or less it. Now we need to work on this. Let me start with this. Let me come here. Let's go to the class. Let me create this here, and it's going to be a file, and I will say this form get poster set value and file. Now let's do the same for the markdown one. Change markdown, and let's say change markdown, content string, and this form get summary set value content. And that's it from here. This is all fine. Now let's work on this. We want to have a model. Of course, we're going to receive a model when we are in edit mode. So for that, we need to create a model. Let's go here. Let's go to movies, new file, movies model.ts, and let's close this. Export interface movie creation DTO, and I will say title string, summary string, poster file, in theaters boolean, release date, and trailer string also. Now I will copy this and paste it here, and we will have a movie DTO, and that movie DTO is going to have the poster as a string because it is going to be an URL by that point. Remember that when we are creating a movie, we want to send to the web API the file itself, but when we are reading a movie, when we are requesting a movie, we will receive the poster's URL. So that is why we have a string here and a file here. So now let's come here and we're going to say input here because we want to receive a model, which is going to be movie DTO. And here I will say if this model undefine this form patch value, and we're going to say this model. And that should be it. Now this should be okay. Now we don't have any errors here. Now let's see what we have. I will save everything and I will come here and let's see that although we have some design to do, we definitely have our control and we are missing the buttons here. So let me do that right away. I will say div here, button, matte, flat button, color, primary, disabled equal to form disabled, save changes, and in here we're going to say A for anchor, cancel, and let me say matte stroke button, and router link. We're just going to send the user to the front page. Let's save, and this should be done. We at least have the buttons, but we still have to work on the CSS. So let me go to the form movie component.css. I will say form max width 500 pixels, matte form field will have a width of 100%. Let's say button margin right of 1 rem. Let me save. Let's come back here, and now this is a little bit better. We have to make a margin bottom for the checkbox, so let me do that. Let me come here and let's come up here, and I will say class checkbox container, and I will copy this and come back here and I will say dot checkbox container margin bottom 1 rem. Save everything, and as you can see now we have some space between in theaters and trailer. So now this at least looks good. Let me see if it works, and it doesn't seem to work because save changes is enabled while this should be required. So let's see what we have. In here we made a mistake here. Our mistake is here. This should be invalid. Let me save. Let's come back here, and now this is disabled. So let's say Spider-Man. I can check this. This is going to be the ID of the video in YouTube. So for now I can just write whatever. Let me write a date like this one. Let's select an image. Let me come here to movies like this one, for example. I can write a biography and everything seems okay. So now let's work on edit mode. Let me come back to Visual Studio Code. Let's go to edit movie component. I will say here H2, edit movie, app form movie, and I will say model equal to model, and save changes. We don't have a save changes. Let's say save changes here, event. We forgot to make the onSave changes event on our form movie component, so let's do that. Let's come here and let's say output, and we're going to say onSave changes, which is going to be of type event emitter movie creation DTO control dot equal to new event emitter movie creation DTO. And now let's come here to save changes and let's say this onSave changes emit this form value. And that's it. Now this should be okay. Now let's come here. I will take this. Let me go to the class of the component and let me create that save changes. And in here I will say movie creation DTO, movie creation DTO. And finally, let me create the model, which is going to be of type movie DTO equal to, I will say title, let's say Spider-Man, let's say also in theaters, I'll say true, let's say summary, whatever, this should be a column here, release date equal to new date, then trailer, I can put here whatever I want, and finally, we will have a poster, which is going to be an URL. So let me come to IMDb. I will look for Spider-Man. This one is fine. Right click here, copy image address. Let's come here, paste, and that should be it. Here we shouldn't have any errors, so let me save everything. And let's come back here, and let's go to edit, edit 24. And we have Spider-Man in theaters ABCDE, today's date, the image of Spider-Man, and whatever here, which means that we have a basic form for creating movies, though we have not finished yet. As you know, in the past we have worked with genres, actors, and movie theaters, and now those entities have to be related to movies. For example, a movie can have several genres, in a movie several actors can participate, and of course a movie can be projected in different movie theaters. So we're going to work on components that will allow us to indicate that our movies are related to these entities. We will see that next.